let's get to it. Tonight we have myself and Tom. We also have a guest.
What's up?
We also have a guest, Steve. Say hi, Steve.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm a Sooner fan from Wisconsin. Steven invited me on, and I'm happy to be here. And I meant Blinkin by saying Steven, although
That's gonna happen all night long.
All night long.
night long.
We've broken that wall. So all right. I mean, we're 3 seconds into the show and already messed it up. So everybody, buckle up.
Yeah, I guess we're going to get into a bunch of playoff scenarios. We're going to get into some Bedlam recap stuff.
Oh, woof.
Is that wolf to Bedlam or wolf to whatever you just drank?
Oh, man, yeah, it was the second one. Give me a second.
Tom's having technical difficulties.
Yeah, technically, I am the
physical
difficulties.
Is that what it would be?
Well, technically, yes, I guess. I'm also having mental difficulties, so emotional, I suppose, as well.
Nervous about Baylor?
Not even a little bit.
There it is.
I'm not either. I don't know if it's like I'm just like, I don't know. I've got the last two Big 12 championships like on the brain where Oklahoma kind of outperformed or came up big, but yeah, I'm not worried about it either. Going
into the last two, this being the third one, like I haven't been worried about this game at all. The Big 12 title game. I don't know what it is about it. If it's the fact it's like, oh, we've been there, done that with these teams already.
Yeah. It's been weird. Do you think we're going to wear our alternates like we have? Did we do it 2 years ago?
Gosh, I hope not.
We did it last year against Texas.
Well, I know we did it last year, but do you think we're going to have them again?
I thought they were like our Baylor West Virginia uniforms that we wore them against Baylor and West Virginia. They're not like technically alternates. They're just the uniforms for those games.
Oh, well then, here we go.
So yes, that's what I think. I think we're going to bring the wood, Rough Rider style.
Who do you guys think has the better advantage when it comes to facing the same team twice? I mean, I think it's got to be us, right? I think on the offensive side, it's for sure Lincoln. And then I think the only thing Grinch can do is improve. I think the fact that we're facing them again weighs heavily in our favor, but maybe you guys disagree.
Well, I think part of the whole dynamic here is what transpired in the second half of that football game. Like if Baylor had won that game by 10, 17 points, I think their mindset's a whole lot different going into this game than it is now blowing a 25-point lead. And I think that's something that's going to weigh heavy on them going into it.
Yeah. I guess that's... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's a pretty good indicator right there. Like you had one half of football, your coaches go into the locker room, they make adjustments, and that's what happened afterwards. Now, with the amount of time they've got to put into just adjustments and preparing for Baylor twice now, I mean, I think that's a huge advantage in our favor.
I mean, I can see it both ways, guys. I can see it, Baylor has a chip on their shoulder. They got something to prove. They're going to, buckle down and not let the same thing happen. But I could also see, what if they do get up, 10, 14 points in the first half? That's always going to be in the back of their mind what happened last time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I can see it going either way as far as the mental game is concerned. I think head coaching, I really like Matt Rule. Kind of game management, the typical head coach kind of things. I think it might be a bit of a toss up. I think scheme wise, though, I think Oklahoma has an edge.
I got a comment on Jack Fran's question about comparing the middle tier of the Pac-12 with the middle tier to the Big 12, because I've been asking myself, Oklahoma State, what would they do against the middle of the Pac-12? And I think it wouldn't be. I think they destroy everyone for a long time until you maybe get all the way up there. I don't know.
I mean, so what are some typical teams in the middle of the Pac-12? What constitutes the middle of the Pac-12? Like Arizona State, Washington.
Well, we can take mean,
USC
median, motor,
maybe.
range.
Yeah, Blank. Like, which one's gonna tell us the best here?
It depends a lot on your, population or sample.
Okay, so
Oklahoma State versus USC.
I think a fully healthy Oklahoma State, like everybody, is ready to go. I think I probably would go Oklahoma State.
Okay,
I think I would too, and then I think I'd take them over everyone in that South Division except for Utah, Arizona State, UCLA, Colorado, Arizona. And then I think same with the North. I mean, the second
for reference point, they beat Oregon State the opening night of the season.
Yeah.
They beat Oklahoma State in a battle of the OSUs, not the OSUs, some OSUs. Oklahoma State actually won that game that Thursday night, and I'm going to emphasize that it was a Thursday night because apparently that's really appropriate or important when you're ranking college football teams.
Well, the reason why I was thinking about this is I looked at the Pac-12 and I was also Oklahoma State versus Virginia because Clemson is, I forget what it is now, 28.5,
something like that.
Yeah, something crazy.
What's the line on an Oklahoma State Virginia game on a neutral field? I think it's Oklahoma State by 5-3, somewhere like not a lot, but winning.
Oklahoma State, Virginia?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Oklahoma State's a 10-point favorite over Virginia.
Okay. I guess my point is that's the second best team there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No,
like
the ACC
it's just not close.
Is complete trash. I mean, Kansas went to Boston and beat Boston College at home. Boston College won like 5 conference games.
Where do you want to play that Oklahoma State Virginia game?
I think an aircraft carrier, if we're going to do it. Let's go all out.
I mean, like, we've had problems with slippage before, which is why we've kind of gone away from it. But looking at the Sagarin ratings, it looks like on a neutral field, Oklahoma State would be about a 3-point favorite.
Over Virginia?
Over Virginia.
Did someone say 3 to 5?
I'll take those points, or I'll lay those points all day.
Are you looking for a pat on the back here, Steve?
Yes. to make up for outing Blinkin right at the onset.
Well, you got a lot more making up to do, but we'll put this one in your favor here.
So Bedlam game. What do you guys think of how that game went? I think that Oklahoma looked really good. The offense maybe isn't what people want it to be, but it was still very good.
It's not what we want, but it's what we need.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. It's not the hero we deserve, or however that goes.
Yeah. Check your own tweet, isn't it? Don't you have a tweet about that?
Ronnie Perkins, right?
Ronnie Perkins is the hero we deserve. I mean,
the one we need, not the one we need.
I don't know about the one we need. I think Grinch was the hero we needed. Ronnie Perkins is the hero we deserve.
I'm excited for him. I think 1-2 years, that's going to just be awesome. Like 2 years away from now, with Spencer in and his recruits, I'm pretty excited about that. The future of OU in that way.
well, like let's pump the brakes. Like, yeah, the future is always bright in these parts, but we're trying to talk about last week's game. We got another one this week. Like, uh, let's pump the 2021 talk.
I'm just thinking Dynasty already, but whatever.
Brock Vandergriff or whatever it is.
Does it start there, or does it start this year?
I don't know. Is there anything to be said with if Oklahoma gets into the playoff and we lose in the first round again? Like, when does that narrative start of like, how many times are we going to let them in to lose on the first round?
The narrative's been there since the BCS.
Yeah,
that's true. Since we got our shit pushed in against USC, LSU, I don't know, take your pick. It's like a 15-year. This is a 15-year-old thing.
I think it was that.
What
USC
happened to that
game.
USC? It was like a 98-yard drive right off the bat for a touchdown. Oklahoma did, and then we never scored again.
Yeah, no, that was, and that's crazy because that was like right when I was like getting into football, like getting into college sports and stuff, is like right when that happened. And OU has this like seemingly unbeatable team, and then just goes and gets taken to the freaking woodshed in the national championship game. I mean, it was hard to watch.
I think I placed my first bet on that game, and despite losing, I took. You can go two ways, right? It's binary. You either quit betting, or you're like, I gotta win this money back. I chose one route.
I could quit betting, or I gotta win this money back. The story of Steve Smith.
Never did get that money back.
You're still chasing it.
There's a lot more money to chase now. Is the problem?
Well, yeah. Being gainfully employed helps that, though, I guess. It's just a hobby. It's not a problem yet.
I haven't admitted it's a problem, so the first step does not have a check mark next to it.
All right, so we got time. That USC game, I was working at a bar and grill in my hometown. My dad was refereeing a basketball game, and so he missed the Oklahoma drive. So he walks in, USC just starts putting it on. He left by the end of the third quarter. Well, the next day I'm at school. A buddy of mine says, "Hey, your dad came into this bar last night. He was getting into it with some USC fans." I said, "Oh yeah, really?" He said, "Yeah, he was threatening to beat one of their asses, and the guy who he was threatening to beat says, 'I'll sue you for all you're worth.' My dad says, 'That's fine. I don't own fucking anything.'"
See, Sooner fan 4231 agrees with me. 2021, we could be a phenomenal team. I 100% agree.
Oh yeah.
I mean, things just need to work out with injuries and stuff like that. And
a second year Rattler, if he's cracked up to be, third year wide receiving core, with Weiss and Hazelwood, and that could be a really, really good team. Bridges, that would be probably
Stogner.
I guess the second year of these 5-star running backs coming in this year. Yeah, that could be a really, really good team. I mean, at the very least offensively.
Dual OK was at the Bedlam game, sitting in the stands, so you got a front row seat to that awesomeness.
Yeah, I bet that was cold. I bet that was cold as hell.
Oh, cold! Come on.
Remember who we're talking to here.
I live in Wisconsin, so me and Blinkin's definition of cold is, I guess, the OU Texas distinction on success. It's just a lot different.
Hey, you lived in Oklahoma for a while. You remember how it would get to like in the 20s, but then the wind would be going at 30 miles an hour. And so
yeah, I actually thought it was more. I thought it was more dangerous. I still think it's more dangerous to drive in Oklahoma in the winter than Wisconsin. We have equipment for it. You guys just get ice everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for Koi Sauce subscription, Boomer Sooner.
If I can I talk about the Bedlam game?
You sure can.
Cool.
Tom,
Thanks, Steve.
you can do whatever you want.
Uh, I'm well aware of that. I thought it was the most complete game Oklahoma's played in a very long time. Both sides of the ball. I guess that's what I mean by complete. Uh, holding them to just that touchdown in the first quarter. Chuba Hubbard to just 104 yards. You know, people will say, "Oh, they were on their backup quarterback," but this defense isn't bad. They're like top 30 in total defense.
They are.
Which, you know, when we were doing the show earlier in the year, before the season, people were like, oh, you know, what are some like, what do you think a ceiling is? And I'm like, if this team gets like 75, I'm gonna be ecstatic, and we're gonna be in the playoff talk. And here we are, we're 26th.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. I mean, even analytics wise, you know, kind of taking a step away from just the raw numbers. I mean, Oklahoma's like 40, which is incredible given that a year ago they were like at 120. I mean, last season Oklahoma allowed a touchdown on 83% of their opponent's red zone trips. That's the worst percentage for any college football team since 2013. Any college football team.
That's good,
worse
right?
That's worse than UTEP. That's worse than Connecticut.
UConn last year.
Worse than Massachusetts. I mean, that is bad. But yeah, it's been remarkable what's happened in a year, especially on that side of the ball. Let's go through the chat here. See what's going on. UT and Tide gave LSU a game. A&M kept within striking distance. How about Mac Brown and what he's doing at North Carolina? Not just winning games, but pulling recruits.
Dancing his way to some bowl game.
Oh man!
If only
Texas fans
he
are
could
so
have beat Clemson.
butthurt. If only.
I mean, you don't understand what you got until it's gone, I guess.
Clemson got lucky winning that game. The advanced box score after the fact, by Bill Connolly's advanced box score, had North Carolina wins that game 65% of the time.
Yeah, I love. I don't know how many weeks ago you guys did it, but when you were doing that best versus deserving, maybe it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I listened to that and I started thinking about some of these games, like the North Carolina Clemson game, the Wisconsin Illinois game. As like best versus deserving. I mean, it's absolutely right, because you're saying that because UNC didn't score on that 2-point. I mean, if UNC scores there, aren't we talking about Clemson's out no matter what with the teams that are left right now?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And their schedule. But, you know, they're not. And 538 has them at the best chance of making the playoff right now. Same thing for Wisconsin. I mean, if Wisconsin... Well, hopefully we talk about the scenarios later on wins and losses in these games, but Wisconsin makes a field goal and the ball goes, 10 to 20 feet to the right, over that distance. All of a sudden they're, maybe even getting in after losing to Ohio State. Or even if they beat Ohio State, they still might not get in now, all because the ball went, so far to the left. And maybe he does that, maybe makes 4 out of 7 or something like that. But that like one kick defines how the whole team is and how we look at them now on whether they deserve to be in this playoff or not. It's kind of crazy when you think about it that way.
Yeah, because, it turns this whole 60 minutes of performance, highs and lows, nuance, all this stuff, it turns it into collapses it into a yes or no. Binary win or loss. You know what I mean? And so
60 minutes, a whole season, though.
It's almost, I mean, you collapse a whole season into 14 yeses and nos, which is completely insane. And, and that's what most analytics try to kind of address. But I mean, and especially in football, when a turnover at the right time can be the difference in a game. You can outperform a team
Like,
you can outperform a team for 59 minutes.
For instance, like a 2-point conversion at the very end of a football game
Absolutely.
that just happens to get picked off. Yeah, I don't know. That's just a scenario I made up in my head that I haven't seen anywhere recently.
Or like Dual K said, an onside kick that 1 inch over doesn't hit our guy at all, or allegedly hit our guy at all. I'll throw that modifier in front of it.
But yeah, I mean, it distills that down into a binary black and white, ones and zeros. Did you win or did you lose? And the rest is forgotten. And so there are lucky teams and there are unlucky teams, and it's remarkable, and that's why we love college football, right? That's especially why I love college basketball. You throw in 64 teams and you don't know what the hell is going to happen.
Yeah.
Did you catch the Virginia-Purdue game tonight?
I was watching it actually before we got on here.
So Virginia hasn't scored 50 points in their last 3 games, and they've won 2 of them.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait for college basketball to really get ramped up. Man, I saw, okay, so brief college basketball talk. I've seen twice now Michigan State play, and I have not been impressed.
I think this is going to be one of those...
at number 1, right?
Yes, first time in program history as the AP preseason number 1 team.
I have not been impressed with Michigan State. They got
I've seen a lot of people
by Duke.
I've seen a lot of people call for, it's like, oh, why do we have polls this early? And that's something I kind of been harping on for years about. But it gives media people something to talk about. It's really what they're there for. But I think this season, I don't think there's that one dominant team that everyone's looking at and saying, yes, that's the team that's going to win the national title. Like a Kentucky or a Duke of the past few years. And granted, like, the best team rarely wins, but you don't have that team that everyone just looks at and drools over. So I think that's going to set us up for a fun college basketball season. I mean, Evansville got Kentucky. Yeah. There have been some other games.
Yeah, it's been pretty entertaining so far. I'm ready for Oklahoma to kind of get back in the swing of things.
Well, if you want to watch tomorrow's game, Oklahoma takes on North Texas tomorrow evening.
I know. I was thinking about driving over to see that.
Well, it'll be better than trying to watch it because it's on CBS Sportsnet on Facebook.
Oh,
not actual CBS Sports Network, but their stream on Facebook. From everything I can tell, like I don't know why you would put on Facebook if it wasn't just going to be there.
Does Facebook still have that chat that you just can't collapse when you're watching something?
Oh my God! Like I don't know. I think I was trying to watch a baseball game, and that like there's a bunch of hearts and smileys and frowny faces and a bunch of shit going across the screen. I don't want that.
Listen, Facebook, I just want to see the Brewers win. I mean, come on.
I don't like that.
You should just say you just want to see the Brewers. Like, don't throw that win thing in there because you're just going to end up being disappointed most of the time.
Hey, for the Brewers' budget, they have done a hell of a job over the past 5 years.
Hey, do you like their new unis?
I'm not going to talk about that.
So no?
No.
Or you haven't seen them?
Oh, I have.
Not a fan?
That cream one is disgusting.
Huh. I loved everything they did.
I mean, we can have a difference of opinion on this. I think the cream one is just bad, though.
All right. Okay, we've got an Indians fan here, so if you think you're disappointed, pretend being an Indians fan for a second.
You guys went to the World Series. I don't know. I'd love to. I hate Manny Machado. Let's move on.
King of the Segway, Steve Smith, is moving us on. If, and I'm just going to take it from here, guys. If Oklahoma wins and gets in, No fear of Louisiana State. Beatable. Clemson's beatable. Lost their entire line to the draft last year. D gets in Lawrence's comfort zone. Make him release too quick. Bring it.
But we wouldn't have Clemson, right? I mean, we're probably talking Ohio State, LSU.
Most likely, yeah.
I think that's. I mean, are we of the same mind that a LSU win and an Oklahoma win is like a 80% chance Oklahoma in?
LSU I don't know about 80%. Georgia. I think it's a good chance. Yes, better than not.
I'm putting the 20% in as like. I think it is. The 20% for me is if we win on a fluky last play and Utah takes care of business and wins by 3 touchdowns, then. But assuming both wins are somewhat on equal footing, I think we're in.
So, yeah, I would agree. So last night watching the show, almost the entire panel was in agreement that if Ohio State or LSU or Clemson lost, they were still okay. They would still be in. Now you can agree or disagree on
the Clemson
for sure.
The Clemson, that's a joke.
LSU maybe, but Ohio State I feel like is pretty solidly in. And last night
Georgia win and it's set. If Georgia wins, it's going to be Ohio State 1, Clemson, and this is assuming Clemson wins. Clemson 2, Georgia 3, LSU 4. That's it. That's ball game.
Yeah, I think so too. Georgia win, I think, and the rest goes chalk, right?
If Clemson lost, they'd have no ranked game wins throughout the whole season and just lost to number 23. And if you use any of the playoff guidelines, they don't fit any of the criteria.
I think we call
those guidelines are like a joke.
Quality loss.
So
yeah.
So last night I made the joke that OSU or Ohio State and LSU should just rest their players, right?
Oh, I didn't think that was a joke. I thought you were serious about that.
I mean, it was mostly joking, but any good joke kind of has a bit of truth.
There's some truth in it,
right? But is that really a joke? I mean,
like if LSU,
it's to the benefit of the SEC if LSU loses, right?
100%, yeah,
absolutely. But that kind of gets into some shady backdoor stuff. But there might be an actual on the front, like legitimate case for maybe resting your players in Ohio State. Ohio State is probably
if they are soundly in the field, like it kind of seems, win or lose.
Ohio State is probably the most securely in, right?
Yeah, I think LSU wants to. I mean, they're going to do what's best for their program, and they don't want to do Ohio State right off the bat at 4. They want to go through Clemson first and get a warm up for Ohio State.
So consider Ohio State. They are most securely in, I think, as most people would say. Their starting quarterback 2 weeks ago sprained his MCL.
Good point there.
Yeah, but he looked.
Last week he re-aggravated it,
and he hurt his hand, right?
And so, what do? Do you go for a Big Ten championship, or do you sit your star quarterback, giving him an extra week of recovery time to increase your probability of winning a national championship? I mean, if you just consider it without context, right? If someone came to you and you're a head coach and they said, hey, you can do this thing, choice A, and that, decreases your chance of a conference championship, but it increases your chance of a national championship. Or you can increase your chance of a conference championship, but you run the risk of not winning a national championship altogether. What
But
do you take there? I mean, context irrelevant, right? They just gave you those A and B. I take A all day, right?
Yes, in context irrelevant, yes. But I don't think it's going to work like that, because your chance of winning the national championship goes up if you don't have LSU in the first game. I mean, you're going to have to beat them at
that's a
some
good point.
but you got to win two.
Well, you're
two
adding
games.
context there.
Well, yeah, but it's the actual context of what would happen in this scenario. It's not like.
But no, that is the actual context, and that's a good point. Another part of the context is, most of the time when when teams rest their players, like in the NFL or whatever before the playoffs, those teams are already assured, like mathematically, that they will be in.
And fantasy owners
Now,
go
this
crazy.
now in Ohio State's case, it is only a very strong assumption that they'll be in. It's not impossible for them to be left out, which it is in those other NFL cases, right? And so that's another thing you have to take in consideration, which I don't think they're going to sit. If he can play, I think he's going to play. But it's an interesting situation, I think.
I think it's funny that LSU is the for sure in, and Ohio State is the probably in, but not necessarily. Well, Ohio State has more ranked wins.
No, see, I would go the other way around. I would go.
Oh, I thought that. Oh, I misheard you then.
No. For me, I would say Ohio State is the most securely in, win, loss, or draw. Right. I think LSU is probably
okay. If there's a draw, there's some sort of shenanigans going on, and I don't like it.
I want to get. So I've been talking to Blinkin, and I don't think I talked to Tom about this because we're not on speaking terms outside of this podcast. But
I think we're doing a really good job of pretending we're friendly.
But here's the scenario that I think is pandemonium, and I think it creates an uproar after it's all said and done, which is a Georgia win and a Wisconsin win. And I'd love to hear the chat's reaction on who they think the four teams are in that scenario. I guess you have to play out a couple other things like Oklahoma or Baylor, and I think the only other team is Utah. Oregon's not getting in.
Well, I think
so this is a Georgia win and a Wisconsin win.
Yeah, I think that's so tough.
I mean, you can take
with
Oklahoma Baylor out of it and just say one loss Big 12 champion.
Yeah, so Georgia win, Wisconsin win. The two teams you have in, I think, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Clemson and Georgia. Who are the other two? So the other two are either the two non-conference winning teams, LSU and Ohio State, or the three conference winning team. I'm going to just say Oklahoma because I believe. Oklahoma, Utah, and Wisconsin. Who are your other two teams out of those five?
I mean, okay, so I'm going to say who I think. I'm going to say I think it would be Ohio State. And I think it would be LSU.
Isn't that funny? Wisconsin, I mean, but regardless, I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what you say, because I think the outcome will just be pandemonium.
Thanks,
and
Steve.
Hopefully, no, I just mean it's just going to be chaos, and everyone's going to say we got screwed and this is a sham. I mean, you leave Wisconsin out, who just beat Ohio State and is a conference champion, and then you go to the playoff bylaws and you're like, conference championships matter, and you can really just run that down for all the teams that are left out. They all have a case that's pretty compelling.
Yeah, I mean, they do. I'm saying, just as, part of what I think would happen, I think they go Ohio State and LSU still. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's close. I think it's dumb.
I like Dual K's comment. Last year's didn't matter. Why would did this year? I think that's one of the funniest things in their bylaws is that it's like number 4 on their pecking order is, or maybe it's 2. Like we'll take into account who has the conference champion, and then like it doesn't matter.
Oh
These
no,
rules are
conference
bad.
championships
College
is like
football
top in
playoff
their
selection
criteria.
committee protocol. Number 2, under principles. Committee will select the team using a process that distinguishes among otherwise comparable teams by considering conference championships won,
Number 1
strength
with
of
a
schedule,
bullet.
Yeah, but it
head-to-head
doesn't.
competition, comparative outcomes of common opponents without incenting margin of victory, and in this one, other relevant factors such as key injuries that may have affected the team's performance during the season or will likely affect its postseason performance.
And that was part of my argument with the resting the players. Like, so you would think, oh, if somebody, if LSU just rested all their players and just took a dive, right? Would the committee punish them? Well, if they did, they'd be going directly against their mission and principles. They would be going directly against who they thought was the best teams, and they would be going directly against that 4th, 5th bullet.
Are you talking about this last bullet?
Yeah, extenuating circumstances that you have to take into account that affected their play throughout the season, which resting their players would be one of them.
Well, affected team's performance during the season, like resting your players, It doesn't specify a cause. Resting your players, does that or does that not affect the outcome, right? So, well, I think it's such as key injury, so it uses an example, which I think may leave it open-ended there. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a for instance, right? I feel like this falls into that. And regardless of the principles part, they're still acting in direct opposition of their own mission, which is to select the best 4 teams. And if LSU rests all their players and takes a dive, we still think that they're the best team, right? Or one of the best 4 teams, correct?
If LSU rests their players and loses, yes.
Then how do you go against that? How do you punish them for that? You don't. If you go with your mission, if you stay true to what you say you're about to do, you don't punish them for that.
The good thing is we have this transparent process, so we can hear what they're discussing and how they arrived at their conclusions. There's only millions of dollars on the line, or hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, and a bunch of kids that put their whole lives in this hope and dream, but we'll keep it behind closed doors. But if you go into small claims for $200, that's all recorded. Anyone can get a transcript.
So earlier today, Eddie Radicevich tweeted, "What's your greatest college football playoff conspiracy?" I responded with, "BCS Properties LLC expanded their product from 2 to 4 teams as the quote college football playoff, including copyrights of phrases and logos like New Year's Six Bowl and playoff semifinal for royalties and merchandising purposes. They will continue to horizontally integrate their business just like any other business would." I don't think that's really a conspiracy theory. I think that's probably just what's going to happen, but they're going to take some years to do it. They're going to slowly, just like, Walmart didn't, begin with thousands of stores across the country. They didn't go, oh, this one Walmart here in Arkansas is doing pretty good, let's open 1,000. No, they opened like 2, and then like 4, and then, maybe like 8. And they expanded slowly and gradually. And that's what this business will do, just like any other business will do.
So I'm just looking on Twitter. From 2017 to present, Oklahoma and Central Florida are the only 2 programs who scored 20-plus points in every game during that time frame.
Steven.
Say that again?
Steven's a guy I know. Blinkin.
It's okay, Steve. Everybody knows my name. They refer
It's
to my
not
name.
okay.
They refer to me
I'm
by
gonna-
my actual name on the radio, so
Trust me, I'm gonna take it out on myself later. But
that was a humble brag, by the way.
They know my name. They know what's up.
I know for a while I was keeping track of when the BCS would actually differ from the top 4 teams in. Do you know where that stands today? Like, are we still in track? Like, there's only been 2 teams since the BCS moved over to the new system that would actually be different. I don't know where that stands. I know there's been a couple years that were controversial. The Baylor one was one of them. I forget when that
Sigrin was part of that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking at that right now.
Yeah.
Ohio State, Clemson, LSU. Number 4, Alabama.
Well,
Georgia, Oklahoma, Wisconsin.
So I think this all boils down to the fact that football is so deliberate with play after play after play, and everybody gets set, and everybody, readies for the next battle, right? And you also have 11 on 11. You have so many players on the field to make so much of a difference. I think it's very hard for maybe like an underdog team or some team that maybe doesn't belong to make a run and really go after a championship. That's why all the analytics and, computer rankings, and they all kind of come out the same every year. Like, it's because football is so deliberate and so large in scale as far as
Steve.
all the players.
Yeah.
Going back to what we were talking about earlier with the Oklahoma State versus mid-tier Pac-12.
Okay.
Cutting Blinkin off, but yeah, go ahead.
Listen, if I don't talk about this now, I'm gonna switch tabs and forget about it. Oklahoma State and Southern Cal on a neutral field would be a pick'em.
That was it.
You know what? I'm gonna go get a drink. I'll be back,
Wait,
you guys.
Southern Cal, I think, beat Utah, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Essentially, my point was you don't have the Cinderellas in football like you do in basketball or baseball or other sports. Like football, it doesn't really allow for those types of things.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Let's go.
Although you don't believe turnovers are a real thing, or the.
It's not that they're not real. It's that you can't predict
No, I
them.
guess. Yes, they are very real. They have consequences.
Yes, they have very, very dire consequences.
Like when you just drop the ball on the ground in the goal in the red zone.
Yes, they're
Here
hugely
you go.
they're hugely impactful. The point is that they're random, meaning not that they're random as in they just happen at random. No, there are things that are very much the player's fault, like Jalen Hurts throwing it straight into the chest of a defending, defensive back 15 feet away from him. Yes, that happens. The point is you can't predict when those will happen. And when those happen is what makes them impactful. So to try to guess or consider or take those into effect is, kind of pointless, really.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's not their fault. It just means that you can't guess at when they'll happen. That's all that random means.
So, do you guys not like to look more than 1 week ahead, or because where I would go with this is, let's talk about how we match up versus Clemson, Ohio State, LSU, and
Hold on, I gotta find it.
I guess we would be the 4th team, so it would end there. But if that's not kosher to look past Baylor, then we don't have to discuss that.
No,
I mean, as Dual OK said, we just need to go 1-0 this week. Taking a page out of the Jalen Hurts playbook. Got to go 1-0 this week.
Hashtag rat
Do you like-
poison.
Do you like the fact that we play before Georgia?
I think
do.
what I
I-
like the most is that the Pac-12 game's Friday night.
Yeah. We'll find out that before we even, before our little heads hit the pillow.
So we'll know whether or not Utah lost, or how big they won and how they played. And I think we'll have an idea of what Oklahoma needs to do. Like, part of me, and this might be one of the conspiracy theories that we were talking about earlier, they kept Utah ahead of Oklahoma just so people don't tune out that Pac-12 game.
I think so too. When I saw that, I'm like, we know what you guys are doing. And then you'll say that we beat a better team than you did. So now we leapfrog you. It's like a whole facade.
Well, that's pretty much all college football is. It's just a facade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited that the Pac-12 is on Friday. It'll be good to know. I mean, it's not going to affect anything, I don't think, but it'll be good to know going into Saturday what needs to happen. I mean,
What do you think?
what needs to happen for us is the same, win big, but all the peripherals will be a little more clear.
Yeah, that Clemson. I don't know. I get bothered by it, but it's it's not their fault either. Like I say that about UCLA and us. Like at the time we scheduled that was supposed to be an okay non-conference.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah, that's the problem with this kind of scheduling.
It's not their fault that, like, although they don't have any non-conference either, but it's also not their fault that everyone else in the conference sucks.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I sent Blinkin a picture of the Big 12 conference standings earlier this week or last week that just had everyone but Oklahoma and Baylor highlighted, and it just said, "Thanks a lot, conference."
Yeah, I mean, come on. Give us another decent team. Give us another team with at least 7 wins.
You know what? I think the best part about this is same thing. You got hundreds of millions online, kids' hopes and dreams, and then you're trying to make
Steve's
this
hopes and
decision.
dreams.
Yeah, mine too. Oh my gosh, yes. And then you try to decide who the top 4 are. So what we're going to do is we're going to decide that. Then we're going to put the conferences against each other to see who's better and worse. Like, we make the big decision after we get the relevant data. Or sorry, before we get the relevant data. Like,
yeah.
It's so, why do that?
Yeah.
Ooh, any path of both Oklahoma and Utah getting in.
I saw that question. That's a good question.
You wanted to think it through before addressing it.
Yeah, what could happen that allows for OU and Utah to make the playoff?
Does a big Oklahoma win and a big Utah win and a Clemson loss do it?
I think if Clemson gets just run out of
the rapture.
Yeah, I think you need Ohio State to win.
I know
after Oklahoma lost to Kansas State, I was like, all right, how does Oklahoma get in? It's like, well, you need like 4 teams to just stop playing football. And that might be a scenario here.
You would need Ohio State to win. You would need Clemson to just get run out of the stadium. I think the same for... but the kicker here, is Georgia.
Yeah,
Georgia LSU.
What are you going to do with that? You got to kick out Georgia or Ohio.
Can Georgia... Or no, I think you would need LSU to win and win big.
LSU and Ohio State taking those first 2 spots.
Yes.
Clemson and Georgia, you would think would make 3 and 4 up for grabs, up for debate at least. And I think that's where you bring Oklahoma and Utah into the conversation.
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
I think that's the way. I think that's a possible way.
Well, you say Clemson, say Clemson gets run out of the building, and Trevor Lawrence has an injury.
Gosh,
That's one of those, circumstances.
Right.
I think if Clemson loses by 1 point and it's fluky, they should be out. Like, I don't know. It's not their fault that they don't play anyone, but at the same time, like other people did. I don't know.
Maybe, but at the same time, everybody said, "Oh, this isn't the same Clemson team," at the beginning of the season, and that was true. They were playing bad teams, and they were bad at playing bad teams. Lately, though, they've been playing bad teams, and they've been kicking the shit out of them. So, I don't know. I don't know exactly what Clemson is. Even
I agree with
so the guy, S&P Plus, I bring up a lot. Bill Connolly, he just kind of throws out his predictions and his like point spread for Clemson games because like what his model was built on the first like 6 or 7 games has been completely different. It's been a completely different team the like next 6 games. And so he's like, well, it's like they decided to just be a different thing. And so you can't trust anything that this says. And, that's kind of what Clemson has done this year.
I agree with Piercing that I don't think an injury matters. Really for 2 reasons. 1, because I don't think it does. And 2, because really with an injury, if you think your guy's going to be out for the championship game, you're going to hold on to that information for a week and just play the media card of, well, we got a whole month, it's a long time, don't know a lot yet, and he's going to come along, blah 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 blah. I don't think if Georgia wins and Fromm went down on the last play, like the injury wouldn't matter at all, right? They're not going to keep Georgia out because they're not the best team now because their quarterback went down in the 4th.
Yeah.
Well,
on the last play.
Well, there's that, but I think it also depends on the team that it happens to.
Okay, so no, let me do that different. A Clemson loss with an injury, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that situation that I proposed earlier.
But don't you think Clemson would just say like we're still evaluating it and keep that like even if it is dire and they know right off the bat he can't play, if that's truly a concern, they're just going to keep that in their pocket until
yeah, sure. Sure, and I mean, you've only got to do that for, 24 hours or so. So I guess there's that, but a lot of times like you look at that and you're like, ooh.
Yeah, I guess the type of injury would matter, but
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of nuance to that. So
I forget who it was in the NFL this year.
I know you saw his arm bend the wrong way, but he's fine.
I saw that, and there was an NFL game with a quarterback where I was like, he just broke his ankle, and he didn't. He was like playing a drive later.
These are people in much better shape than we are.
Was he
muscles and
Gumby?
bones are stronger than we'll ever want to be.
Yeah, I run a 15.440.
15 minutes, that's good.
Depends if the slot machine was hot,
Okay, so let's go quick draw. Who do you think of Ohio State, Clemson, LSU is the best matchup for Oklahoma?
Clemson.
Who's the best matchup for Oklahoma?
Yes. Of those 3 teams, Ohio State, LSU, or Clemson.
LSU.
I think I would
How
go
much have you
LSU. I would go LSU as
Steve.
well.
Why?
The chat seems to agree.
Clemson's
defense is still legit as hell. Like they haven't missed a beat. And so I think they're going to hold their own against Oklahoma's offense. LSU can be scored on. They can be scored on a lot.
Does the chat think LSU or Ohio State is the best team in the country right now? I think it's Ohio State, but I don't know what the chat
I think it's
thinks.
Ohio
What do
State
you
as
guys
well.
think?
I think it's
thought it
Ohio
was-
State.
Yeah, I thought it was weird
I
that
thought-
one week
I've
when
been-
LSU
I've
was
been
number
thinking it's been
one.
Ohio
So
State for a very long time.
yeah, I think Ohio State is number one. They've been complete and consistent all year.
It's that eye test, baby.
Well,
Okay,
no,
so
it's analytics.
Reversing that, Ohio State, who do they do better against, LSU or Clemson?
But, it doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
I really think
Okay.
that they're like on a different plane. Other teams have weaknesses that they've shown. Ohio State hasn't shown it at all.
I know they.
They
have. I
might
was looking at their wins
they
today.
might show it on Saturday, but they haven't shown anything so far. Piercing Arrow says Clemson played no one, Paul.
Gosh, I can't wait if Oklahoma wins and Wisconsin. When Oklahoma wins and Wisconsin loses, can't wait to go out around Milwaukee with as much OU gear as I can put on, especially if LSU takes care of business.
All right, just going back and looking at the last couple of years of what Oklahoma's done in the regular season against their Big 12 title game opponent. Like, I think we remember 48-45 last year against Texas in the Red River Showdown. Of course, we won that game by 12 in the Big 12 title game, 39-27. Year before that, when we played TCU in the championship game, regular season in Norman, 38-20, an 18-point win. And in the Big 12 title game, a 41-17 ass whipping. So they've come back and played better in the championship game against teams that they've already faced.
There you go. That's a testament to Lincoln Riley, right?
Changes and game plan upgrades and that sort of thing, I guess.
Oh, as far as scheme, I'm putting my money on Lincoln Riley against anybody.
Well, and we were talking earlier about, what mental aspects might play a role in this. Like, Oklahoma's played in this game, the 2 years that it's been back. They've been champions the last 4 years. Baylor was 1-11 2 years ago. I don't want to say it just to say it, but, people don't know no championships. Oklahoma invented it.
So we got a couple things in the chat. Rad says, nah, LSU is the best. Went to Austin and beat Texas, then went to Alabama and beat them. Alabama isn't as good as they have been. And Texas sucks. Texas is not a good football team. They're a bad football team.
Making everyone look like a bitch.
Hulu Sportcat says, think Calc will play on Saturday.
Cal, like Calcaterra?
I assume so. Maybe that was a joke.
I wish so.
If he were there, it'd be a certain comfort blanket. But Stogner's kind of turned into a guy over the last couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, he's great. And Braden Willis, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got Jeremiah Hall from the H-back position.
He was honorable mention wide receiver all Big 12. Jeremiah Hall. He didn't even play wide receiver.
That's impressive.
Right? Pierce Aguero says, I need a Texas sucks emote. That is true. I do. Red says the Big 12 has gotten a lot better this year. I think overall that's true. If you look at the Big 12 as far as average S&P plus per team, Big 12 is third, really right behind the SEC, and the Big 10 is number 1. So
I can't wait for those games to start popping up. When we do see Oklahoma State go against a mid tier of a different conference and some of these other games and see where they actually match up and
Shit, I saw an Oklahoma State Notre Dame bowl game prediction.
Yikes. I'm hoping for a Texas Notre Dame or the Texas A&M in the Texas Bowl would be, I mean, they might as well just rename it the Underachievement Bowl.
They should only broadcast that in Texas. Maybe move the game to the Longhorn Network.
Oh, absolutely.
So I've got pulled up, as of right now, based on the rankings, the New Year's 6 games, what they would be right now. And I just want your thoughts on them. I think, the playoffs, of course, Ohio State, Georgia, and LSU, Clemson. I think we all think that those would be pretty good ball games that we are going to sit down and watch. The rest of the slate is it's something else. And these are the new
sigh in there. Is
I've been
it is.
I mean, I've been watching these like develop over the course of the season, and like every week I say to myself, I don't want to watch this football game. I want nothing to do with this football game. But I'm a dumbass and I'm going to watch this football game.
The best part is after the game occurs, everyone uses the transitive property for what happens in the playoffs.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, circle of suck.
So the way things are set up right now, the Cotton Bowl. Cotton Bowl's going to get the group of 5 team. So immediately I think that takes it down a peg on everybody's watch list. It's got Baylor and Memphis.
Baylor, Memphis. Memphis is a good team. I don't know. I think that would be a pretty good game, actually. Now that I think about it. I think my initial reaction was like...
You're going to be way more optimistic about all of these than I am.
Probably. But my initial reaction is like, Memphis football versus Baylor? But, I still equate those with like bottom tier, never hear about teams when... they're both top 20 in college football.
Give me Penny Hardaway versus Scott Drew any day compared to that. All-State Sugar Bowl. That's where we find our Oklahoma Sooners taking on the Florida Gators.
Did you say OU versus Florida?
Oklahoma versus Florida.
Oklahoma runs that into the dirt. Puts them in their grave.
Steve, thoughts?
I think so too, but I want to come back to something I want to talk about.
Sure.
Of course.
Because you said it. You said Baylor and Memphis. What do you think Texas thinks of Baylor? Like, Baylor has gone
Baylor beat
far...
the dog shit out of them.
Baylor's what Texas wants to be.
But my point is like, Baylor's got to hate Texas. You guys are coming off a scandal and have terrible, like, your recruiting is not even on par with us, but yet you do better than us in a shorter amount of time. Like, that's got to frustrate the hell out of the boosters.
I'm sure they're not pleased. I think that's why you saw the...
I mean, for a bunch of reasons, but, like, they look at Baylor and they're like, oh, my, how does Baylor do that? And... And we have all the money we can throw at it for coaching. We have top 5 class year after year after year. But yeah, Baylor is in the championship game against OU. I'd be so mad. Luckily, I don't have to be though. Anyway, keep going, Tom. What you were saying was important too.
Oh no, I'm sure it was. All right, so we got through the Sugar Bowl. Let's take a look at the Rose Bowl. Rose Bowl, traditionally Pac-12 versus the Big Ten. We've got Utah, Wisconsin.
Do they
That
do
is
predictive
defensive.
lines?
Those are two defensive juggernauts. I don't know. That's going to be a boring ass game.
Ass game.
Ass game.
And the Capital One Orange Bowl, and this is the one that I've got my eye on the most. Like, if I have to pick any of the New Year's Six games to watch, I don't want to watch that Oklahoma game. I don't want to watch the playoffs. I want to watch Penn State and Virginia.
Penn State and Virginia?
Yup.
That's a big yikes. Big yikes. Maybe that's a consequence of having so many teams like on the cusp of like making a playoff, right? Like you have
Not why Virginia's there.
You have so many good teams in a few conferences, like a handful of conferences, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the bowl contracts too.
But the bowl, the bowl tie-ins and contracts are kind of more distributed, more spread out. So you get these weird matchups that, oh, Lord have mercy.
I want to watch OU in the national title game. Preach, I bleed crimson 918. So we've talked about the games this week, and like we know what has to happen, or not what has to happen, but what would be most beneficial to Oklahoma. Have we all like made peace with ourselves that we're going to cheer, maybe not cheer like outwardly, at least internally, we are going to be pulling for the Oregon Ducks?
I don't think that game's near as important as the LSU game. Like, I don't.
I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I agree with Steve. I think if all things stay the same, everything goes chalk, Oklahoma beats Baylor, I think Oklahoma gets the nod.
The only way I think they don't is you're talking about a lopsided outcome on both games. Oklahoma wins with 1 second field goal, a field goal where the clock winds down, and Utah wins by 3 touchdowns. But if you're even in the same, zip code of win, I think we have it if LSU wins.
Okay, so we're pulling for Oregon, but we'll never forgive the 2006 game. What if the exact same play happens and it gets Oregon that win again, and it gets Oklahoma into the playoffs? Do we forgive them then?
That exact same play?
Same score, same time. Even Utah wears Oklahoma's uniforms. I don't know.
No. I mean,
no.
I think that they owe us a little more. Because of inflation.
Are we talking about reparations here?
Yeah. No. Inflation, Steve. Inflation. An onside kick, a missed call. A missed call on an onside kick was worth more back then than it is now.
I agree with I Bleed Crimson on them talking about Baylor wants revenge. I think OU wants to show that first half was a fluke.
Oh yeah.
That will not happen again.
So I Bleed Crimson says, why is the narrative for the Big 12 championship game only about Baylor seeking revenge? Wouldn't people think that Oklahoma wants revenge? I think he says wants to say Oklahoma wants to avenge its crappy play in the first half. I tend to agree too. I think Oklahoma's coming out with a. But this is what we talked about earlier. I don't know. I go back and forth on this. Who has the middle edge in this Big 12 championship game? I go back and forth. I don't know.
I don't. 100%. It's Oklahoma.
I think so too. Because if they can make those going back to what we started with, if they can make those type of adjustments with just a 30-minute, not even 30 minutes, a short halftime discussion, what can they do with looking at film on Baylor and the actual matchup against OU? And you guys need to be here. You need to do this. They're going to do this against you. I think we have such an edge that way. But
yeah, I mean, maybe.
I guess that's why you play. I do disagree with I Bleed Crimson on if they don't have OU above Utah now. If they both win, they'll keep us out. I think they just do that because they're going to say that we had more of a quality win in our championship game than Utah. I think it's solely
Georgia. Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
I just think it's solely to drive the discussion. I think if the wins are roughly the same, we jump them.
Oh, yeah. The college football playoff is a content generator.
The gift that keeps on giving.
To their own admission, and this probably works towards that content generating purpose. They start with a clean slate every week. And
Georgia can't score enough to beat LSU. I agree. I mean, they're handcuffed going in.
The week before has no bearing on the rankings of the week after. So, like I said, that creates controversy and it creates content and it creates discussion, which is exactly what they want.
Okay, I'm going to switch tracks here because I thought it was funny. The protocol for the selection committee says they all need to start with 30 teams. Do you think they actually do that? Like, hey guys, we're here to pick the top 4. Start with 30. Let me know when you get to 1. Like,
okay, so no, you laugh. Go follow CFB_professor and CFB underscore what is his name? I don't know. Adam McClintock and Dave Bartu on Twitter. Dave Bartu actually runs a simulation. He takes like however many 13 like random people and sees if they and he runs a simulation to see if they can do what the committee claims they can do in however long they have to do it, right? A few hours or 24 hours or whatever it is they sit in there in the office for. And their conclusion is that they have to have some initial ranking and they just debate parts of it, right? They move around, like they have an initial rank that they tweak to their wants and to what they think. It's really fascinating. And to your point, Steve, like there's no way you could do 30 teams and not have something like that in place.
I just don't think it's workable, or I guess it's workable. You could do it, but I don't think they are.
No, they're absolutely not. They have an initial rank and then they probably pinpoint problem spots and they debate those problem spots.
One thing that I think I sent it to you earlier today, Blink, and I don't know exactly how important it is, but if you look at the recusals, the playoff chairman is the athletic director at Oregon, and so he can't be in the room when they're discussing Oregon. Well, Oklahoma has 2 recusals, Frank Beamer and Joe Castiglione. So there are 2 guys that can't be in the room when they're discussing Oklahoma. I don't know how much of an impact that plays. I do find it weird that the chairman of the playoff committee, when they say, what'd you see in Oregon this week? He goes, well, what they told me I saw was this.
That's funny that you mentioned that, Tom, because me and Blinkin were talking about that before you got on.
Off the air.
Off the air too. And it's funny, he can't talk about Oregon, but he can talk about Utah.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, our guys, it doesn't really help us. We don't have another team that can't talk about Baylor, but can talk about Oklahoma.
Well, do you think there's we've seen the makeup of the committee for the last few years now. They're all ADs of big schools and stuff. You've got your random Condoleezza Rices in there. Do you think it would be more beneficial if they maybe had, I don't know, FCS ADs doing this?
I think it'd be
someone who's not going to have like skin in the game.
I think it'd be more beneficial if they had a camera or a recording in the room so we could look at what they're saying. I mean, there's just no accountability. That's amazing to me. There's accountability in everything else in the world, at least when you're talking about the stakes we're talking about.
Oh, no.
The hundreds of millions of dollars?
There is absolutely no accountability in the world in private business.
That would be some reality TV.
In private business, there's no accountability.
But this isn't a private business. It's
100%. It's 100% of private business.
It is. It acts like one, but at the end of the day, it's a playoff of public institutions, like a majority of which are public.
It's a for-profit business. They're going to do what's best for them.
Yeah, no, it is a for-profit business parading as an impartial judge.
Yeah, I don't like the parading part. Like, stop. Just stop. Don't say you are, and don't put these rules out there like this is what we're going to look at unless we don't.
Oh, yeah. No. Like, day fucking one, when they said our mission is to pick the best teams, regardless, just the best teams. And then they immediately start looking at things like top 25 wins, which aren't a direct indicator of who is best. They're just achievements. They're just
Blinkin.
who is most deserving.
By the way, Blinkin, there's the mission statement from the NCAA.
The NCAA has no part of this. None of it. The NCAA has no part of the college football playoff. None. No hand in it at all. They have no say.
I think he meant to say it's the College Football Playoff Committee's mission statement, but you're right.
I meant NCAA. I'm just stupid.
All right, the chat just popped off.
Wait. Let's go back to that. Maybe I am that dumb. The NCAA has no hand in the selection committee process?
None. Absolutely none.
That is that? I mean, I'm sure you're definitely right. Is that something I'm that dumb about, or I just assume they would?
No. The College Football Playoff is owned by BCS Properties LLC, run by Bill Hancock, who has his own model of deciding what's a good college football team and what's not. Literally at no point in the 150 years of college football has the NCAA had any hand in deciding who won the championship in Division I FBS college football. None. At all. None of the years. Not then, not now,
I won't.
Never.
Sorry for coming on your show. My bad. I just assumed they would, considering they make the rules of the whole thing, and
they can disqualify teams. They can say you can't go to a bowl game, but they have no say on who is awarded this college football playoff championship.
This whole thing is like
that is
the whole setup. The whole setup is dumb.
That's all up to BCS Properties Limited or LLC, Limited Liability Corporation. You're the lawyer. I don't know.
Please don't disclose personal identification information about me on air.
Besides that, he's Steve Smith from Wisconsin.
Kidding, of course.
Oh, if that's the case, then let's. You got his social there? I got his phone number.
My phone's broke, so have fun with
that. Oh man, that makes so much sense.
Okay, circling back though, Oklahoma is a 9-point favorite. And I was looking at the line movement throughout the week, stayed pretty even. I think I saw as low as 7.5 and 9.5, but pretty much right around there.
I think that's about right. A couple days ago on the radio, I said somewhere between 7 and 10. I would have put that spread. So I think it's about
I think
right.
I think just looking at the second game, the Big 12 title game, like I'm gonna say Oklahoma wins by at least 14.
Doesn't this feel like they
At
either win
least.
by 14 or it's
Yeah,
a 3-point game either
it's
way?
gonna be at least 14.
Or not
Could be 40.
14, like, yeah.
What was that, Steve?
I was saying it feels like they win by 14 plus, or it's a 3-point game either way. I don't think it's going to fall within the 3 to 14 range.
It's gonna be closer, a blowout.
Yeah, I think so.
I can see that.
Ever since Kansas State, I've had no read on this team. I think I've come on this show several times going like, they're gonna pull it together. They're gonna do this really good thing, and like I think I mean it to mean throughout a game, but they got a drive in it, and I'm like, yep, that's it. That's what I was calling.
Yeah. Shout out to Rosh FM. He is they are a loyal follower. So is Sooner Fan 4321. So is Updoc, who was here earlier. And apparently now I Bleed Crimson. Thanks for joining us.
We're glad to have you here. Let's see here.
So
I'm trying to like catch up on the chat real quick. I think we've neglected them far too long.
We have.
When you think about how stupid the talking heads in the grander scope of college football, there are probably some extremely dumb things said in that room. The college football playoff room. Yes, I'm sure. Baylor has the home field or has the advantage because they've prepped for Oklahoma during their Kansas prep week. I kind of believe that. The thing was locked up. It was Kansas.
Yeah.
Revealed who made the final week's votes. Like have all the committee members come out and reveal their ballot. Oh, I'm all about that if that's the idea there. Why don't we have let the guy who does the bracketology do the rankings? CBS has their own guy who kind of does that. Steve's doing
chat,
great.
Say hello to my wife.
Hi, chat.
Steve, you're doing great. You could come
I
out and smoke
appreciate
them.
that.
They could
Hi,
come out and
Steve.
get smoked.
Hi,
And Tom.
Yo.
and Blinkin.
Well, yes, my face is an inch from his, so the hi is kind of implied.
You know, I think we're 4 Blinkins and 2 Stevens, so you're on the plus side here, Steve. Bedlam was pretty relaxing, so that's a good sign. That was a game where I was watching, and like I don't ever get nervous about the Oklahoma State game, but as it was going on, like, you know, I would most definitely like this game to be 2 possessions. And then when I got to 2 possessions, I was like, I would most like this game to get to 3 possessions. And I'm still waiting on the game to get to 4 possessions, but, you know, here we are. Time ran out. And we won by 18 points. So,
Tom, if we get the ball first, would you rather see Oklahoma do a big 4 to 5 play drive where we just do what we want, or grind out a touchdown?
I want to get on the board. I want to get on the scoreboard as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I would do. I mean,
Yeah, of course you want points. I'm
everything-
just saying, what do you think?
If everything is perfect, I would.
No, there are times later in the game where you want to slow it down and go on those 8, 9, 10 play drives. But when you start the game, you want the momentum. Like your defense, like they're fine. Like they haven't been playing, so they're rested, I guess. They're ready to go. You want to go out there and you want to make a statement that you're not going to be fucked with, and you want 6 on the board.
See, I know you want 6 on the board. You take the lead right away. That's awesome. I was thinking grind it out only because you're like, okay, we can do that. And if you grind it out and you do these short plays, it only makes the probability of getting the long plays that much higher,
Tommy's
right?
all right.
I mean, you've established a run game, I think.
You're talking like
grinded it out.
well, I think you're talking in the long run. But if you're talking that first drive, and you're just going to isolate it, you want a big strike. Somebody in the chat pointed out Oklahoma's going to have probably a pretty big advantage in the stadium itself, and you want to bring those people up and suppress what little fans Baylor's going to have there, little Baylor fans. That's cute. And I think if you do that with a quick strike, boom.
But my thing is like, I think the quick strike is a given. Like, we're gonna do that because we do that. But if you grind it out, you show you'd have, and when you come back on the field, you probably made the chances of getting a big strike, like not isolating it, but looking at the whole game. Like, they're defending against a bunch of stuff because they know you can grind it down if you need to. They can't double. I don't know. I'm not articulating it very well.
I think that's all dictated by the game situation. I think that early on you want to score fast, score efficiently. But
like we did against USC.
But as soon as you get up,
bringing it all together. That's what we call bringing it full circle.
God damn it.
How long you been sitting on that one?
That's off the top of the old head there.
Yeah, all right. That being said, I still want to score like as quickly as I can.
Yeah. Until you get to a point where it's advantageous to eat up clock, right? It's not advantageous to eat up clock when it's 0-0 or even 7-0 or probably even 14-0. It's advantageous to eat up clock when you have a 20-point lead. Yes. Be inefficient. Be efficiently inefficient. Get first downs, but get them slowly. Right? Waste some clock.
Well, and I think part of that is like we've seen the I guess resurrection of the OU running back game since probably maybe the Kansas State game, given it, Trey Sermon went down, but, giving the ball to Kennedy Brooks, we hadn't seen that in a couple of games, like kind of went missing from the old play call sheet. And just bringing in handoffs to the running back, that's inherently going to slow your offense down.
Yeah.
I think the best start to this game is Baylor gets the ball and it's a 3-and-out. Like, that is just going to be awesome.
Uh-oh.
Okay. I see.
Do you want to see one of the dumbest things in college football? Yes, I do.
I do too.
All right. There's a link in the chat, everybody. Uh-oh. This is the 2019 Associated Press Week 15 poll. We're probably looking for one outlier, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Like a where's fucking Waldo?
Oh, this sucks.
Who can find it fastest?
This is a Where's Waldo. I kind of like it.
Maybe it's just the fact that we're voting on things like this. Like, this is what we're concerned with in our lives. This is going to be the show that never ends because we're never going to find it.
This is the show that never ends. Yes, it goes on and on, my friends. Some people started looking at it, not knowing what it was.
Hey, Steven, do you know where I can get a college
That's three.
football?
That's 3.
3 what?
Do you know where he can get 3 college somethings?
I was going to say, I know what I did.
Yeah.
Blinkin, do you know where I can get a college football committee for dummies book somewhere? I don't know how it's
Barnes
set
and
up.
Noble?
Oh, I shop online. I guess they.
No, you can pay.
BarnesandNoble.com.
You can pay $8. You can pay $8 and follow Adam McClintock on Patreon, and he guesses the college football playoff ranking every week. So they definitely use a formula.
It's the very bottom one. I always respected John Wilner until I saw this. This is a disgrace. This is an outrage.
John Milner is a bitch, and he's always been a bitch. And he will continue to be a bitch. Probably has some bitch kids, too.
I will be tweeting at Wilner Hotline. Wilner Hotline? Oh, come on.
He has Utah at 8.
I mean, like he understands the importance of that Oklahoma-Florida matchup then.
He has Michigan ahead of Wisconsin.
Yeah, he has Michigan ahead of Wisconsin. Notre Dame ahead of Wisconsin.
Whoa, look at how far back Baylor is. Baylor's there at 15.
15.
Ooh.
John
It
Milner
was
sucks.
worse last week, trust me.
Blink did not hold back on Wilner. Yes. Oklahoma's at 5. Oh, man.
Yeah, we never would have found Waldo on that.
Yeah, never.
Thanks for the cheat sheet there.
I do go to CFB subreddit. I do go to the CFB analysis subreddit as well. So
I think they pop across my Twitter timeline every now and then. Maybe I should follow it. I don't know.
yeah, I frequent both. I love the like territory battle maps that they come out with every year.
Oh, those are fun.
Yeah, those are cool.
Those are fun. Oh, we're gonna. Hey, no. We're gonna let Steve take this question. Hey, if Oklahoma wins the toss, do you take the ball or you defer?
Defer.
No, without a question there.
I kick.
You defer your choice to the second you kick. We have a defense. Defer.
What did Texas do where they ended up kicking both halves? What did they do? How did that guy mess it up?
Blinkin was probably the referee at the time.
Yeah, I was probably a referee.
No,
I took pride. I took pride, even ownership, when it wasn't my responsibility during intramural games. When teams would choose to kick after winning the toss, thinking that this was fucking Madden, and that kick meant you received the next half. They would choose to kick, which meant they used their choice instead of deferring their choice to the next half. And it was my goddamn pleasure to inform those teams that they in fact had to had to kick the ball the second half.
Oh my god! Like I never.
Did
knew
you
about
give them
this.
any sort of like, you know what you just did? Do you want to change your answer? Or are you just like, it is what it is?
I always asked, "Are you sure?" When I was a referee, I always asked, "Are you sure?"
Even when you were my back judge, like if they did that, like you were taking point on it.
Yes.
Blinkin, did you at least give them a like, take a minute, son?
No, I said, "Are you sure?" And they said yes. I mean, that's all I could give them. If you're going to be stupid, then, you know, you're going to reap the consequences of being stupid.
I think I had one of those where I had ejected somebody or disqualified someone for getting 2 technical fouls in a basketball game I was officiating. And the supervisor goes, "Did you give him a warning?" I said, "Yeah, the first technical foul."
He also filled out a report one time when he kicked out a.
I think this was the same game, actually.
Yeah, it might be the same game. He kicked a player out, ejected a player, and he had to fill. In intramurals at OU, you had to fill out a form saying, an incident report essentially, and the description of the incident. It was like, why'd you kick him out? Well, because he was being an asshole.
No, he was being a dick.
Oh, he was being a dick. Sorry.
Yeah, like the supervisor was. Yeah, no, this was the same thing. The supervisor's like, "All right, Tom, why'd you give him his first technical foul?" Like, he's being a dick. It's like, okay, why'd you give him the second one? Like, well, he's still being a dick. Well, did you give him a warning? Yes, the first technical foul. That's why you get 2 of them.
Tom, who's player of the game in this Baylor game?
Who's going to be player of the game in the Oklahoma Baylor game?
Yes, sir.
Who? You put me on the spot there.
Sorry, whom?
I think I'm going to go...
Not whom.
It's always whom. You sound smarter. Just say whom.
No.
I think Oklahoma's going to get that lead we're talking about. They're going to want to slow it down. I think it's going to be Kennedy Brooks.
I'm going to agree with Tom.
Rosh FN, boom.
And Rosh FN. I'm going to say Kennedy Brooks.
What say you, Steve?
That's where I was going with
Steve thought he was going to have a hipster pick that no one was going to pick.
No one picked the running back here.
I should have led with mine. Then you guys would have been the copycats.
Well, now we're just making fun of you because you're copying us.
Should have read the room, Steve.
My bad.
Okay, we're up over an hour and a half, so we should probably wrap this up. Tom, Steve, final thoughts. Wrapping up this show. Let's start with Tom.
Final thoughts. Final 4. Ohio State, LSU, Clemson, Oklahoma.
I agree. I think we need to take care of business versus Baylor. I think we will, and I don't think it'll be this 3-point game. I think it'll be higher, 10 points or more. And then I think we're just cheering for the next game after it. We're cheering for LSU to... And I think LSU's got an advantage just going into it with the injuries and suspensions. So I think we're going to see the game we want to see, which is an Oklahoma playoff game.
My final thought is that the college football playoff is a business just like every other business, and they're out to maximize profits, which means, they're in the business of TV. So that means drama. That means suspense. That means cliffhangers. And so, the committee acts like they're kind of transparent, but they're I'm sure they're heavily suggested to do a certain thing and a certain thing only. But we'll see how it plays out.
Before we go, we got I believe Crimson's asking final score.
My guess is to go. Oh, they're gonna go with Oklahoma over Utah, just because more people will tune in to Oklahoma than to tune in for Utah. So, yeah, we can wrap this out with final scores for the Big 12 championship. What do you got?
42-17, Oklahoma.
That's exactly Sooner fans. Is that what you would have guessed?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Oh, nice.
Maybe I am Sooner fan. I don't know.
Steve, what do you got?
Yeah, like 35-20. Something like that. One of the scores that has never happened that you mentioned.
Oh, yeah. Scoregami.
Oh, yeah. Scoregami. Before you pick, Steven, because we'll probably end it, I wanted to thank you guys for having me on.
That's another one.
Oh, I was talking to myself. I want to thank myself for coming on. But Blinkin and Tom.
That's actually the most Steve move.
No, thank you guys for having me on. It's been fun.
Oh, absolutely.
It has been. I was kind of dreading it, but here we are. I'm glad I'm never gonna have to talk to you again until the next one.
I think I'm gonna go 35-28. I'll go 35-28.
A little closer, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thanks, chat, for coming out. Thanks, everyone who tuned in, everyone who subscribed and followed.
Hey, Sooner fan 3241-4321. You're my guy.
Oh, we just got a new follow. Sooners 1023.
Hey, Sooners 1023. Check us next Wednesday.
I Bleed Crimson. When is this show each week? We always do a show on Wednesday
Don't say always.
nights.
Don't say always. Don't say always.
Almost always do a show on Wednesday nights. And then usually we do a show. Sometimes we do a show on Friday nights. And then, stay tuned to my Twitter for impromptu shows.
Yeah,
because we will do
impromptu.
Ooh,
Yeah.
You got a new subscriber there, Steven.
Oh, thank you, Rosh FN, for the subscription.
That was another one.
Absolutely, thank you. Fantastic.
We need a post-it note on your computer, Steve.
Oh, I'm gonna work on that if you ever ask me back. I don't know how. It's just gonna be like shock therapy, something like that.
You know, it was nice when we did the podcast. I could edit that shit out.
Post game show. I'm down if Tom is down. Maybe Steve. Steve, you want to get on this?
Sunday sometime?
That's up. If you guys invite me back, I will come back.
How about Sunday? Sunday evening after the rankings are released?
Ooh,
9
that'd be a
9
good
p.m.
show. Yeah.
9 p.m. Central. Sooners 1023.
Around 9 o'clock on Wednesdays, yeah. But we could do one maybe Wednesday or Sunday evening after the rankings are released.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good show.
I don't know if it'll be a good show, but it'll be a show.
If I were a betting man, which I am, I think there will be a show if Oklahoma makes the playoff, and there most certainly will not be a show.
If not, you won't hear it from us until April.
Actually, there might be a show if we got shafted, but if we just lost to Baylor, and that's the reason why we're out,
Radio silence.
I don't think you'll. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. Don't follow us on Twitter. Follow Blink on Twitter. He's the one with all the information.
All right, and with that, we are out. Thanks for everyone.
Guys,
thanks to
it
everyone
was
for
a
coming.
pleasure. Boomer.
Sooner.